Hello and welcome to MoGuard TV. I'm your host, Captain John Quin of the 131st Bomber. On May 22, 2011, a devastating tornado hit southwest Missouri. What at first appeared to be a local disaster turned into a national emergency. Our Commander-in-Chief, Governor Jay Nixon, quickly mobilized the Missouri National Guard along with countless state resources to help the people of the area react, respond, and recover to that devastating storm. More than 160 people perished in that storm and more than 1,000 were injured. Countless lives were changed that day in ways big and small. The Missouri National Guard was proud to play a key role in the response to that terrible storm. Join us as we take a look back at what hundreds of Missouri National Guard soldiers and airmen did to help the people of southwest Missouri recover from that devastating storm. Months leading up to the tornado, the Missouri National Guard had already lived up to its motto, always ready, always there. By May, Missouri National Guardsmen had been called to duty 2 times for natural disasters. The first was a winter storm that blanketed much of Missouri in snow and ice in late January and February. In April, a flood threatened communities and thousands of acres of farmland in southeast Missouri. Missouri National Guard units worked around the clock to lay sandbags and hold back the rising waters. From May 16th through 20th, the Missouri National Guard joined local, state, and national agencies for a national-level exercise. The exercise simulated emergency response efforts to a 7.7 magnitude earthquake in the New Madrid seismic zone. At precisely 5:41 p.m. on May 22, 2011, an EF5 tornado struck Jasper and Newton counties. The tornado's path of destruction spanned 6 miles. More than 160 people died in that storm and injured more than 1,000. Homes, schools, businesses, and a major area hospital were destroyed in the storm's wake. Our Commander-in-Chief, Governor Jay Nixon, quickly mobilized all available state resources, including the Missouri National Guard. As our Adjutant General, Major General Steve Danner, points out, many citizen soldiers and airmen were already on the scene.
We also had an advantage that many of our guardsmen, being hometown guardsmen, were working that evening or in the area already. So as civilians, even caught up in the storm, they were already going to work doing their job. So we really had 3 contingencies in Joplin very quickly of those local community soldiers and airmen that took immediate action on their own. The 276th came in to do the search and rescue, and then we got the MPs in there very quickly thereafter, particularly to assist with security issues with the Joplin police.
Specialist Adam Winters filed this report.
Governor Jay Nixon immediately activated the Missouri National Guard after a tornado tore through Joplin, Missouri last night. Major General Stephen L. Danner, the Adjutant General of the Missouri National Guard, says Guardsmen are helping local authorities in every way possible.
Right now we've got security missions, we've got the search and rescue missions, we've got the route clearance, debris clearance, and also we have health and welfare checks that we're beginning.
Citizen soldiers and airmen will remain on mission until relieved by Governor Jay Nixon. Reporting for the Missouri National Guard Public Affairs Office, I'm Specialist Adam Winters.
The Missouri National Guard response to the tornado included hundreds of soldiers and airmen with diverse military occupational specialties, including military police, infantry, and aviation. By the time the first soldiers and airmen arrived in Joplin, it was dark. Overnight, bad weather continued to pummel the area. It was not until the sun rose the next day that many realized how complete the tornado's devastation really was.
My first impression was like World War I. You see the pictures of the trenches and the trees that are totally devastated and the landscape that's barren, and that's exactly what we saw. I mean, just a flattened landscape, grass, trees, I mean, bushes, everything was gone, just stripped away.
At the time, Major Michael Brown was the administrative officer for the 203rd Engineer Battalion in Joplin.
We were going straight up Highway 1, going up to Baghdad, and you know, as we were going up that direction, there were tanks everywhere and all kinds of other equipment that was on its side or turned upside down or blown apart. It reminded me a lot of that situation, driving up Highway 1, driving down the streets in Joplin the next day. We just couldn't see very well that night. I didn't get there until nightfall, and I didn't have a good feel for what it really looked like. But the next day, where we could go, which was rather limited really, just because of the debris, it looked a lot like that.
Missouri National Guard citizen soldiers and airmen worked around the clock to support the people of Southwest Missouri in the days after the storm. The 117th Engineer Team had arrived on the night of May 22nd to perform search and rescue missions. Suddenly, they found themselves with a new mission: to transport and erect a mobile medical unit on the grounds of St. John's Mercy Hospital. The hospital had taken a direct hit from the tornado and had been moved 4 inches off its foundation. By providing the mobile medical unit, these soldiers ensured that doctors and nurses were able to see patients in the area. Specialist Adam Winters reported on that critical mission.
The 117th Engineer Team, the first Missouri National Guardsmen to rush to the aid of Joplin, were still going full speed when tasked with a critical mission after nearly a week of hard work and long hours.
That's what we signed up for. Even though we're tired and working all night, getting a few hours of sleep, it doesn't matter. We're here for them, to help them however we can, whether it be giving them water or food, or helping with medical needs, or even picking up pictures out of their yard to salvage what they can salvage. We're going to do whatever it takes to help them out.
When the team was ordered to assemble a field hospital at St. John's Medical Center, they once again set the standard for state emergency missions.
We came in first. We try to be here first, try to accomplish our mission as quickly as we can. The Guard is there to help good people during bad times, and we feel like we're doing that right now.
Reestablishing service at St. John's is an important step on the city's path to recovery. The Missouri National Guard will remain on duty as long as the people of Joplin need them. Reporting from Joplin, Missouri for the 70th Mobile Public Affairs Detachment, I'm Specialist Adam Winters.
By erecting the mobile medical unit, the 117th Engineers ensured the staff of St. John's Mercy Hospital was able to continue their critical life-saving mission. Mark Owen gives us an update on the hospital's current status.
Sergeant Matthew Wilson was a member of the 117th Engineer Team when the tornado hit Southwest Missouri. When he found that St. John's Mercy Hospital was hit, he immediately felt concern.
My initial concern was for an aunt that I had that actually worked at Mercy St. John's at the hospital. So it was the unknown as to was she at work that day, was she at work at the time, things like that.
The damage to the hospital was so extensive, it had to be torn down.
It was unreal. I mean, one of those things that you don't expect it to be a hospital.
The tent hospital that the 117th Engineer Team helped build served the people of Joplin until an interim hospital could be built. Today, the interim hospital is just across the place where St. John's Mercy Hospital once stood. The old site is now a lush green hill, surrounded by gravel walking paths. A few miles away, a new permanent facility is under construction. It will be known simply as Mercy Hospital. Reporting from the Missouri National Guard Public Affairs Office, I'm Mark Owen.
After the tornado, fallen trees and downed power lines blocked roads critical for first responders and posed a hazard to anyone traveling in the area. Missouri National Guard military police were called to the scene to aid civil authorities in ensuring the safety of people in the area. Specialist Adam Winters filed this report.
Debris left by Sunday's devastating tornado still covers some roads in Joplin, Missouri.
Missouri National Guard citizen soldiers are currently running security missions with local law enforcement to keep citizens off of dangerous roads like this one behind me. Guardsmen will man the traffic control points around the clock while road cleanup crews work to remove down power lines, tree limbs, and other potential hazards. Specialist Jonathan Faulkner of the 294th Engineer Company says the safety of the local citizens is the state's top priority.
So we got a lot of unsafe structures down here, and we're kind of worried about people going through and checking them out, so we got personnel kind of in and out, keeping an eye on things, so make sure safety is maintained as much as possible. Missouri National Guardsmen will remain on duty as long as the people of Joplin need them. Reporting from Joplin, Missouri for the 70th Mobile Public Affairs Detachment, I'm Specialist Adam Winters.
3 years later, Missouri National Guard military police and local law enforcement reflected on their joint mission. Dana Elise Smith has the story.
Lieutenant Darren Gallup is a police officer with the Joplin Police Department. On the night of the tornado, he said there was not enough local law enforcement to aid the community in the aftermath.
In a disaster like that, there are so many jobs to do and only a few people to do it. So the more help that you can get in, obviously it's going to be easier to accomplish.
Local law enforcement reached out to the Commander-in-Chief, Governor Jay Nixon, and the Adjutant General, Major General Steve Danner.
We told them that we needed help, and they listened, and they said, whatever you need.
National Guardsmen were soon deployed to the area.
We had a company of MPs here on scene.
That company was the 1139th Military Police Company. First Lieutenant Jonathan Klusmeyer was the officer in charge of the unit.
We met up with basically a force of the Joplin Police, the Highway Patrol, federal agents, and we intermingled with that force. The military police are there to complement the civilian police. We're not there to take over the situation, but just to provide additional support and act underneath the Joplin Police Force and do what they need to assist their mission.
Sergeant First Class Christopher Stapleton served as the non-commissioned officer in charge of the night shift.
We had 16 to 17 soldiers that would pair up with Joplin Police Department. Law enforcement agencies were out there, and they would just ride along doing roving patrols, just like a normal patrol that a police officer would do.
National Guardsmen and law enforcement agencies banded together for nearly 6 weeks after the tornado to accomplish disaster relief missions.
Without that help from the National Guard and other law enforcement officers, there's just no way that we could accomplish that.
Klusmeyer said that this partnership enforced the importance of state emergency missions.
I think Joplin really hit home for our guardsmen. We just saw a town that reminded us of our own hometown that had been hit. I think it drove home our emergency mission to every one of our soldiers.
Reporting from Missouri National Guard Public Affairs, I'm Dana Elise Smith.
When we return, you'll meet a Missouri National Guard citizen soldier who risked his life to save his neighbor after the tornado, and in doing so, earned the U.S. Army's highest award for valor in a non-combat situation.
The National Guard is heavily engaged in the cleanup and recovery from what federal officials are now calling the largest tornado outbreak in history.
My mother lives over here at 4325th Street Northeast.
Put my arms up against the walls and they were actually moving my arms.
Mother's neighbor's truck is about 2 houses down from where it's supposed to be, tore all to pieces. So that just shows you what wind can do.
Once you stand in the middle of that neighborhood and you look in a complete circle, you're in awe of the damage. You don't have any idea how those people made it out.
Officials say 305 tornadoes were counted between April 25th and 28th, more than 600 overall during April.
We have over 2,000 National Guardsmen and airmen who are activated across the northern part of the state where we've been carrying on operations here.
The tireless efforts of the National Guard will continue well into the recovery phase, providing security, transportation, and distribution of aid. A helping hand in an emotional time of need.
Welcome back. And now I'll turn you over to Mark Owen with a story of heroism in the midst of devastation.
Hey, Mark, how you doing, man? How you doing?
Tornado survivor Mark Lindquist and his wife Carolyn met with Staff Sergeant Michael Byers near the place they had met 3 years ago.
Where it was and stuff, it's all changed so much.
This is not their first reunion since the tornado. In fact, since then, they have developed a pretty close friendship.
You know, Mark thinks of him as a brother.
Byers and Mark remembered a day that started out much like any other.
Yeah, it was a good day. There had been a few weather warnings on TV, but it was a pretty day.
Mark's job was to assist 3 adults with special needs. He was not scheduled to work that day, but he was there spending time with his buddies.
And I was just going about supper, and I noticed the sky was dark. I heard it flash across the TV the way there was a tornado on the ground in Joplin. So about that time, I went and looked outside, and it was starting to hail.
Mark took the 3 developmentally disabled adults to cover, where they waited out the storm.
You could hear it tearing trees out of the ground and things like that, and I remember the air pressure switching, and my ears were hurting so bad, and I remember covering my ears, and we started praying.
Missouri National Guard Staff Sergeant Michael Byers headed to work after the tornado swept through the area.
So I was trying to get to the armory because we know that there was heavy damage at the armory. When we couldn't go any further, we stopped to help.
Byers assessed the situation as he stepped over debris and helped wherever he could.
We heard the moaning, started digging the rubble, and found him.
Byers slowly lifted the rubble off of Mark and noticed
he was in bad shape. He had, he had suffered a head injury and lost a lot of blood. So we pulled him out of the rubble and rendered first aid and used our shirts for bandages.
With the number of casualties climbing, Byers had to act fast. He left Mark with his cousin who had come with him before running to the nearest highway for help.
I had run up the road and asked some civilians to get their trucks down there to help haul people out and get them to the hospital quickly. They responded well to the asking of their help, and they damaged their vehicles trying to get to the casualties.
At the time, Mark's friend Carolyn was living in Montana. She heard of the devastation through national headlines.
I was watching the news, and it was big news. It was because it was such a big tornado and so devastating. And I was just shocked because that's where, Mark was.
Carolyn would not learn of Mark's injuries until 3 days after the tornado. She turned to multimedia for answers.
I finally contacted his sister, Janie, on Facebook, whom I did not know his family at all. And she got back to me right away.
Facebook was also used to start a prayer chain. Word spread that Mark had only a 2% chance of survival. This chain of information brought hope to many family and friends.
I spent more time on my knees in prayer than I have my whole life in a matter of weeks.
If Mike hadn't found me, there's no way I'd be here. I mean, I barely made it with Mike's quick thinking and actions.
Byers' selfless service and loyalty to his community deemed him a hero. His actions were recognized, and he was honored with the Soldier's Medal.
The Soldier's Medal for heroism is for risking one's life in non-combat environment. It's the highest award you can get.
He saved Mark's life, and we're both forever grateful to him.
I'm darn lucky to be here, and thanks to Mikey Byers. I don't know if God sent him or what the deal was. I'm blessed. I know I am.
Reporting for the Missouri National Guard, I'm Mark Owen.
The Joplin-based 203rd Engineer Battalion is one of the most storied Missouri National Guard units, tracing its lineage back to the late 19th century. Its soldiers had just returned from another mission to Afghanistan a few months before the tornado struck their home community. Switching from their federal to state mission, these hound dogs immediately mobilized to support their community.
Captain Sandbothe is the administrative officer of the 203rd Engineer Battalion, simply known as the Hound Dogs.
Somewhere during the Spanish-American War, the unit that went down to the Mexican border, Texas-Mexican border, had a pet. It was a little hound dog, and it started running around, started to pick up scraps, and other units would start kicking around, tell them to get out of there, and you start kicking a mascot or your pet. You don't like it, so it came to be about the don't kick our dog, and it's lasted ever since.
Sandbothe said the community is proud of the Joplin-based unit.
They're pretty proud of the hound dogs down here, and and rightfully so.
The case was the same on May 22, 2011, when a tornado touched down in Joplin.
The tornado went maybe 100 yards north of the armory.
Like many structures near the tornado's path, the armory suffered roof and water damage. Despite that, the unit mobilized to conduct search and rescue missions.
Their motto is, don't kick our dog. And that's exactly what they brought to the fight. And the Hound Dogs and the other members of the Guard, both Army and Air, from Southwest Missouri all stood up as a team to see that their friends and neighbors were taken care of.
Reporting for Missouri National Guard Public Affairs, I'm Michael Williams.
Current Guardsmen weren't the only part of the Missouri National Guard family who pitched in to help after the tornado. Retired members of the 203rd Engineer Battalion also stepped up to help their fellow Hound Dogs.
There's nothing more loyal than a hound dog. Whether they still wear the uniform or retired, the Missouri National Guardsmen of the 203rd Engineer Battalion, known as the Hound Dogs, show the fierce loyalty to each other that has been a hallmark of the unit since its founding in the 19th century. When retired Major Dwayne Holland heard a fellow 203rd soldier was hit hard by the tornado, he sprang to action. Although Holland had never met retired Sergeant Dale Mermond, he immediately went to the area to help Mermond and his family get back on their feet. Major Holland says he was just a small part of a volunteer, state, and national effort that involved countless responders.
There's a lot of people here from all over the Midwest and even further just helping out people. I mean, the community response has been overwhelming here. I mean, there's literally tens of thousands of people.
Holland's actions reflect a larger trend on the part of current and former Hound Dogs, helping each other through these difficult times. For Holland, it was a chance to aid people who have given a lot to their state and country.
You help out your own, because they've certainly helped you out in the past.
Reporting from Joplin for the 70th Mobile Public Affairs Detachment, I'm Specialist Adam Winters.
As communities began to recover in the days after the tornado, our Commander-in-Chief, Governor Jay Nixon, tasked the Missouri National Guard with providing state oversight to federal debris removal efforts. Specialist Adam Winters filed this report.
The Missouri National Guard is coordinating with local, state, and federal agencies to support an expedited debris removal process in Joplin, Missouri. Debris removal on public right-of-ways is already underway. Contractors are employing Joplin residents in an effort to create jobs and bring local community economic relief.
All of these subcontractors are working from this community. 4 of the 6 are within 10-mile radius of Joplin area, and a lot of the workers are from this area, so that's all being infused back into the community here.
City officials led a town hall meeting on June 6th to explain the expedited debris removal process, right of entry forms, and field questions from residents as the city takes another step toward restoration.
We're here for the community, the National Guard, the Corps, FEMA, the city, all the contractors out here trying to do their best, make this an efficient process and get this done in a quick, efficient manner and keeping people safe, and that's prime. We're here for the city of Joplin and the residents.
Citizen soldiers are working with the city to distribute right of entry forms to residents in the affected area. The completed forms will allow local contractors to remove debris from private property. Reporting from Joplin, Missouri for the 70th Mobile Public Affairs Detachment, I'm Specialist Adam Winters.
Major General Steve Danner explained why Governor Jay Nixon chose the Missouri National Guard to provide state oversight for the debris removal program and to oversee the disaster recovery jobs program. When Governor Jay Nixon was formulating his response plan following the storm, he turned to the Missouri National Guard. Major General Danner explains why.
And I think the governor felt that we had the capacity to immediately set up the training and establish those workforce development pieces. And so it worked out very well to fit the Army system into that jobs program.
Led by Colonel William Ward, the Missouri National Guard's Task Force Phoenix aided and oversaw much of the recovery.
It was pretty challenging because never before had the National Guard been the lead agency for that type of mission. The Guard's involvement in that program was to provide squad leaders and a leadership to lead these teams out there in these communities, going out and cleaning up the local communities.
Brigadier General Randy Allowell, then commander of the 35th Engineer Brigade, explains why the program was important.
The intent was to ensure that we could rebuild Joplin as soon as possible and make sure they had the essential services to be successful in their economic and residential areas.
By the time the job was finished, more than 1.2 million cubic yards of debris had been removed from southwest Missouri. Thanks to Governor Jay Nixon's Disaster Recovery Jobs Program, many of the hands removing that debris belong to residents of southwest Missouri. Specialist Adam Winters has the report.
The Missouri National Guard is drawing down the Disaster Recovery Jobs Program in Joplin, nearly 2 years after the devastating 2011 tornado. Major Brian Sayer, the Missouri National Guard's current operations officer, says the program has served as an economic engine for Joplin's recovery.
They used Missouri Guard soldiers to supervise this program where they actually put people to work. People who were underemployed or unemployed could come into the Workforce Investment Board and apply for a position, and they would be given a job, as a general laborer. And the Missouri Guard soldiers, Air and Army Guard soldiers, would provide supervision for these groups of people that would perform the cleanup.
Major Sayer also said the program provided economic relief for property owners.
The homeowners or business owners who had debris from the tornado could ask for assistance, and these crews would come to their property and clean up for them. So it didn't cost these homeowners or property owners anything to have the cleanup done.
Reporting for the Missouri National Guard Public Affairs Office, I'm Adam Winters.
In the aftermath of the storm, the people of southwest Missouri embodied the best attributes of the Show Me State spirit. For some, the tornado led to further service in the Missouri National Guard. Mark Owen has the story.
The EF5 tornado that struck southwest Missouri directly affected more than 100,000 residents of Jasper and Newton counties. One of those residents, Christy Martin, lived in a neighborhood that was flattened by the high winds. She recalls what she saw moments after the tornado swept through.
There was only 2 houses that was on this here block that survived. This one here is still standing, and that one right there.
The magnitude of the devastation was overwhelming, but Christy said she had felt a sense of relief when she saw the debris removal process had begun. She decided to lend a hand.
The National Guard, they came out and they helped cut down the trees, and I helped stack and get them all out of the way.
Area residents teamed up with local agencies to help pick up the area. Sergeant Katie Kilroy learned of the large twister in her home state after golfing with friends while on vacation.
Well, I was sitting in actually Arizona and I saw it on the news, and it really ate at me that I wasn't able to be there to help out. And I saw the men and women in uniform, and about 2 days after I got back home, I went into the recruiting office and I signed up.
Newly minted Private First Class Brian Hamlet's first-hand experience while helping his cousin, Staff Sergeant Michael Byers, inspired him to serve.
It was a big step, but it was definitely the first step that made me seriously consider it. I had considered enlisting before, but for various reasons never did. With that tornado kind of driving the community together, it just kind of helped solidify my desire to want to join up.
Private Hamlet says the impact of the National Guard's efforts in Joplin was tremendous and has had lasting ramifications in the area.
Since the tornado and everything that was done through the National Guard for that, I think the public opinion has been overwhelmingly great toward them, because people saw them out there pulling people from the buildings, getting them to the hospitals, getting them out of the areas, getting them help, and people will always remember that.
Reporting for the Missouri National Guard Public Affairs Office, I'm Mark Owen.
Thank you for joining us on today's program. And now it's my honor to turn things over to our Adjutant General, Major General Steve Danner, for tag time.
When the EF5 tornado struck southwest Missouri, our soldiers and airmen began a mission that would last almost 2 years. Immediately after the storm, we began search and rescue operations, manned traffic control points, and cleared roads for emergency responders. Over the next few weeks and months, our role expanded to include overseeing a massive debris removal process and working hand in hand with the Department of Economic Development to run Governor Jay Nixon's Disaster Recovery Jobs Program. I'm proud of the outstanding efforts of our soldiers and airmen. They showed the true value of the hometown guard. In the years since the tornado, we've maintained a great relationship with the people of southwest Missouri. We were proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with them as they rebuilt their homes and communities. We remain awed by their resilience. Until next time, on behalf of Governor Jay Nixon and our 11,500 soldiers and airmen, thank you for your service and support.